MotorWeek is made possible by Auto Value and Bumper to Bumper and TireRack.com.
In the world of battery electric vehicles, for those looking for a three-row family utility, their choices are few and expensive. That is about to change with the 2024 Kia EV9. Following the award-winning two-row EV6 and compact Niro EV all-electrics, the EV9 has the promise of capturing a large share of the potentially huge three-row EV market. One reason is that Kia already knows what families expect in a larger SUV, and they took us to their California proving grounds to drive that point home.
It would be impossible to evaluate the Kia EV9 without comparing it to the very successful three-row Kia Telluride. They're both about the same size. They both seat similar capacity. Basically, the EV9 will seat 7, the Telluride will seat 8. Towing capacity is about the same at 5,000 pounds, and cargo capacity is within 10% of each other. So if you look at the Kia EV9 and think it's a Kia Telluride just with an all-electric powertrain, you're right.
At least on paper. After all, they even look a lot alike. Same upright style and purpose. But in many ways, the EV9 significantly one-ups its ICE sibling. To the eyes, that starts with the interior. The EV9 is totally modern and high-tech, with driver and front passenger greeted by some 30 inches of screens. While there are some basic physical controls on the lower dash and steering wheel, most functions use a haptic panel and touchscreens for activation. With 7 inches of added wheelbase over Telluride, second and third row seat room is quite generous, with the look and feel of the many sustainable fabrics surprisingly luxurious. Digital upgrades like remote parking assist, boost for faster acceleration, and even changeable lighting patterns allow for extreme personalization. A suite of advanced driving aids will also be available. As to actual driving,
I do think that in that comparison between the Kia EV9 and the Kia Telluride, there are some differences in ride and handling. For one thing, I think the EV9 actually rides better. Maybe it's the weight of the batteries, maybe it's the 5-link rear suspension, but it soaks up bumps better than the Kia Telluride.
But handling was perhaps the biggest surprise.
The Kia EV9 handles a little bit better than your typical electric vehicle. It feels more normal and the steering feels just about right. Not as much feel as you would like, but a vast improvement over a lot of EVs that we test these days.
When it hits the market later this fall, the EV9 will be available in 4 trims, starting with base light, with single motor rear-wheel drive and up to 215 horsepower. With the standard 76.1 kilowatt-hour battery, range will be about 220 miles. Wind, Land, and GT line models use 2-motor all-wheel drive with up to 379 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. Maximum range with the long-range 99.8 kilowatt-hour battery is targeted at 300 miles with rear drive and up to 270 with all-wheel drive. Further, with an 800-volt architecture, the EV9 can be charged from 10 to 80% in 25 minutes. With the proper interface, the flexible EV9 doubles as an automatic home generator during power outages. But what do all these factors mean when you punch the pedal?
When it comes to acceleration in the EV9, it really does depend on which model you choose. The all-wheel drive 2-motor models that we were out here testing, 0 to 60 is 5 seconds, and you get that exhilaration you expect from an EV. However, even though we didn't get to test it today, we know that the single-motor rear-wheel drive models are slower. 0 to 60 we estimate 8 to 9 seconds, and while that may sound pokey, it's about normal for most ICE engine SUVs these days, and I think will be perfectly adequate for most family chores.
The EV9 is also not just for hauling the brood around on pavement. With 7.8 inches of ground clearance and the ability to forge up to 19 inches of water, it's stout enough for light off-road duty, say a remote campsite here in the Mojave Desert, where its big battery can keep the lights on for days.
To sum it up, the Kia EV9 is much more than just a Kia Telluride with a battery electric powertrain. It truly is a generation above. It has a better ride, it handles better, of course it's faster, it's quieter, yet you still get all the utility that you expect in a Telluride. I think that if it is priced fairly, and it looks like it will be, it's going to be another home run for Kia.
Kia says buyers will be able to start reserving their new EV9 in early October, with deliveries starting before the end of the fourth quarter. And we'll have more on the 2024 Kia EV9, including a real-world road test, coming up on MotorWeek.